I hope everyone's doing outstanding. Tuesday, March 3rd, 9:18 on this fine morning. Talk quick about the market. Some names I'm looking at go from there. Today seems like what should have been Monday. I mean, futures were down on Monday. Just feels a little different here. S&P down about 1.8%, Nasdaq down over 2%. Europe markets down 3, 4, 5%. Also, Asia markets overnight. Nikkei down 3%. The South Korean market was down over 7%. Um, it feels like just the weight of everything. Yesterday was like the market could overcome it. Like we could have, it was all that went on. I wouldn't say overcome it, but it wasn't too much. Today, it just feels like there's too much uncertainty, too much with oil prices going up now, and just all the different things that are all the different facets. It just seems like a weight is on the market right now, and who knows if we pull it off. I don't know if I put it on the watch list yesterday or today. It's like the market is pricing in a strong U.S. economy, right? So I think that's like the starting point, and then everything else is just kind of noise around it, right? So when we have these pullbacks, it's almost like just short-term noise because ultimately the U.S. economy is doing well, but then then it's just like the longer this progresses, the higher oil prices go, the more different things that go on that might have impacts down the road, the less that becomes, I wouldn't say certainty, but uh, just that scenario of a strong U.S. economy going for a prolonged period of time, that kind of gets diminished, right? So we'll see how today plays out. I always say I'm like a glass half full person, optimist. Take everything with a grain of salt. I mean, there's a lot of noise and news out there. I mean, not good stuff, right? And I put on a watch this morning. I hate to say numb to war and loss of life, and I mean it's just the environment we're in. Unfortunately, right now, I'm here to trade, so you have to kind of like tune things out. I used a bad analogy yesterday too, like the owner of a funeral home, right? I mean, unfortunately, your well-being is knowing that someone's going to pass away, right? Because you don't have a job if someone doesn't pass away. That's bad analogy, but that's kind of like some of it. You just got to be somewhat numb to it, unfortunately. So the market's going to go on whether I'm here or doing it or not. So that's kind of how it goes. But we'll see what today plays out. I talked about some key spots on the SPY. 676 has cut. 77 has kind of been a line in the sand. 674 was the lows on February 5th, and then we got down to 672 and change at 630. So key spots there. The good thing we found some bounce, right? 672 all the way up to 678 in the pre-market. We'll see if that has some follow through. The other part of note is like where else are the market's going to pull, and that's why I keep talking about financials as being kind of like the put hedge scenario, because it's like the software names already took it on the chin. A lot of these other names you look, and outside of some of the retail names and some of the energy names have been, I wouldn't say corrected, but there's been some profit taking in those names. So are we going to have more downside? I mean, is an Oracle going to go to $90, right? Is that kind of where we're at? I mean, if the markets do have some substantial pull from here, those are probably some of the price charts, things you have to look at. But we'll see. All right, that's overall markets. To me, yesterday could be one of those days you get your bullhorns on. It's that wild, play some bounces, and then boom, today you get crushed. So thankfully, I wasn't up loading the boat on lottos for this week. I'll continue to be nimble, keep things small, and open to both sides of the table. Go from there. All right, that's overall markets. Also, what the VIX yesterday, right? I was talking about the rant yesterday afternoon. Markets were flat, and the VIX was still up 8%. So kind of told you, still under the peel back that onion, there's still a lot of angst there, right? And I mean, we're not anywhere near the April Liberation Day lows yet, but take a heck of a lot to get there. I mean, what we said we're 480, right? So we're sitting here 674 on SPY. But anyway, that's all right. It's overall market. Just quick on individual names. Um, you know, First, why do I have hard fill here? I got those Reddit calls. Reddit's been a name I've been playing for a while now, so I'll continue to look for opportunities. At some point, there's going to be news. There's going to be some kind of catalyst that's going to take hold, and the thing's going to go bonkers, and the weekly calls are going to be up 1,000, 2,000, 3,000%. It's going to happen. It's just a matter if I'm in position when it happens or not, right? So the 160, we're looking great at the open. One day I guess I'll have to do some little webinar on how I do some positions. Some of the best trades I've had have been on earnings, like post earnings smash ups or sell offs, where you're able to get in a trade at the open. So I think it's important if you're trying to do a trade to have limits in, right? And then you can adjust as the market moves. This way you're not caught chasing. Market makers love to make someone pay on mistakes. So it's important to have limits. So I had limits in on the Reddit 160 and 162.50s. Got to 160. Sorry, I'm out of breath. I'm talking too fast here. We don't have much time. And I was able to get filled, and I just held on to them. It's down here. It's off $4 in the pre-market. I don't know if that matters much because Even if it was up in the pre-market, I'd still be holding the calls. It's just a matter of being able to lock some in to cover cost. Um, my thoughts on Reddit. One of the best fundamental stories out there. I think AI is a tailwind, not a headwind. Market's saying otherwise. Hopefully, it'll start to say yes and agree, and it'll take off. So that's right. I'll continue to hold those. Same with Roku. I mean, you take a look, inverse head and shoulders setting up. I think it's headed substantially higher, finally moving after its earnings. Hasn't done that in a while, which is a good thing. Uh, Funny enough, it was sitting there like in a $1 range all the afternoon at trading around 97, 98. Down here at 96. Hopefully gets a bid here, gets going. Also, you have Morgan Stanley doing a fireside chat with the CEO tomorrow afternoon. So maybe that's the kick it needs to get over the 100 hump and then up to 110. Still think that's a possibility to head at the end of the week. So if you look, the 50-day moving average is right at 100, 180. So if it gets over that, I think it heads to 110 by Friday. I got the 106 calls. I'm riding free. So if that's my thought process, holding through the bumps, that's what I'm going to do. All right. So that's Reddit. That's Roku. Overnight, I wouldn't say it's the bubble bursting in the memory space, but I talked about in the rant yesterday afternoon. I think there's like things with this AI data center build out, right? And some of it's been the energy side of things. I mean, the storage side of things, the memory, right? We saw the SanDisk, the Western Digital, the Seagates, the Micron. And now it's kind of like moved into the optics side, and light has already gone, but some of the other names, the Applied Optometrics, however you pronounce it, some of these other optic names going bonkers yesterday. And then I still think you have the fiber optic thing. And there's some other names in the space, but obviously, my thoughts here on GLW. But I think it's kind of more in the early innings, right? Third, fourth inning, where you take a look at the memory names getting destroyed overnight. Samsung having its worst day in quite some time. Let's see here. Excuse me. SanDisk down here. I mean, it's funny. You look, SanDisk down $40, but it swung $100 intraday. So to see it sitting there down $40, like not too surprising. But interesting. Talk about some of these cycles in early innings. When I was looking at SanDisk at $180 back in September, you could have made the case, being that it was already up 200%, that it was in the eighth or ninth inning. Meanwhile, it went to 400 and then chopped around into 400s in October, November. You could have made the case it was in the late innings. Then up to $700. So who knows if that story is in the ending innings, the memory storage memory space. But if you look at the fiber optics, if it's still early innings, I think it had substantially higher. So I still think 248 plus on GLW. There's going to be news at some point if there's any, read through on NVIDIA's investment in Light and COHR yesterday. It means they're getting capacity because they're concerned that maybe at some point there won't be enough for them to do their build out. So anyway, love GLW. The problem obviously is the premiums getting some more strikes. So I'll continue to be patient. GLW is all the way up to 160 yesterday with all the headwinds, all the craziness going on. Then overnight down to 148. You see some headlines this morning. Big market sell-off in those names, but then GLW is back at 152 here. So not going to add anything just yet at the open, but another name, maybe one of those that if the market finds some footing, starts to go bonkers to 170, 180, 190. Other names, Heartfelt, right? Heartflow, one of my top 5 stocks for 2026, down here $23. It had a great story, right? So it does like MRI, AI MRI stuff, or for the hearts though, able to identify and give an analysis on scans of the heart, things like that. So the thing is, they've gotten approval. So the issue with a early stage company like Heartflow is people paying for it. So if you have the insurers paying for diagnosis of a platform that you use, that's like free money. I hate to say free money, but that's kind of what it is. So seeing it down here at $24, I think there's an opportunity to trade back into the 30s. So market finds footing. Don't be surprised I add some of those. And then I keep talking about all these other names in the optics space. If there's a little dip here and it's still early in, fourth, fifth inning, I have a list of some of the tickers, right? The COHR, AHR, AXTI has already gone bonkers. ALMU, Poet, right? We were talking about Poet yesterday afternoon. I've watched Poet for like the last 6 months. And every time someone's brought it to my attention, I get a private message. I look at it, it's sitting at like $5, $6. And then the next day or a couple of days later, I look and it's down. I'm like, oh, good thing I didn't add the strikes. One of these days, maybe it's not, right? So anyway, food for thought. We got 3 minutes to open. I'll be back on audio later. Rock and roll.